The new Mercedes E-Class continues the luxury car theme to a new level, but still has to compete against the toughest rival of all, BMW's Perfect 5. We've seen some concept cars on Auto Mundial before now, but we've never seen anything like the cars featured in the Ideas Olympics. Japan, of course. And at the very top end of the market comes the new Bentley Arnage T. It's big, but is it beautiful? To some eyes, yes, definitely. Mercedes has a long-standing reputation as a maker of executive cars, which goes back well beyond the war years, but which began to coalesce into a continual theme in the post-war period, establishing twin hallmarks of engineering excellence and progressive design. And that's progressive as in continually evolving rather than just occasionally radical. Buyers and mere onlookers were left with a well-founded impression of evolution and improvement, as well as a growing sense of technical leadership. And in recent years, Mercedes saloon cars have come to enjoy a pleasant but very real and well-deserved brand image of the kind which IBM used to possess in the days before Bill Gates, and which most senior industry executives would gladly die for. During the mid-70s, a lot of the emphasis was on size, partly because of the implied status and partly because you needed the extra room to cram in all the executive toys which were suddenly beginning to blossom in top-of-the-range cars. By the end of the decade, electronics was the thing, and all major manufacturers knew they stood on the brink of the single biggest revolution in car design since pneumatic tyres. But this was still the boom and bust 80s, and big was still the order of the day. If you've got it, flaunt it was the message, and Mercedes not only had it in the first car to be designated an E-Class, but flaunted it as well. By the mid-90s, the new look was all soft curves and round lights, and though size was still a feature of the E-Class, designers were disguising it with compound curves that had become the new look of the new millennium. With model update and replacement on a much shorter cycle than before, the E-Class of 95 is replaced this year by a new model which continues the evolutionary theme of the previous 40 years and more. Though designed to be different, it looks like an E-Class, and it is an E-Class, with the same basics of engineering, equipment and safety, which are the underpinning of the brand, plus the improvements to dynamics and specification which all Mercedes owners expect and indeed demand. But following on from an impressive heritage and an excellent predecessor is by no means the tallest order on the worksheet for the new car. Even as the stylists were moving from two-dimensional images to the first scale models and heading, eventually, towards a full-size clay buck for executive decision-making purposes, the E-Class engineers and designers were more than aware that the car they had to beat was the benchmark in the class, the BMW 5 Series. In general, if you like, BMW have got the engines and the chassis dynamics that sporty drivers prefer, while Mercedes are outright owners of the smooth executive glide over all forms of road surfaces at a speed which you will find surprising if you look away from the financial papers and look at the speedometer. BMW to drive, therefore, Mercedes to be driven in. Yet Mercedes has put a great deal of effort into the dynamic abilities of new E-Class. The refinement is still there, and the smooth shapes of current Mercedes styling, which so lend themselves to wind tunnel smoothness, still aid high-speed performance and the kind of autobahn silence which executive drivers so admire. But there's more. Underneath a slippery skin that retains a great deal of old E-Class that conservative buyers will find comfortingly familiar, Mercedes has introduced a new 4-link front suspension and a multi-link rear, mostly of aluminium. And that's not the only use of aluminium, of course. In a body that sees increased modular construction for easy repair following an accident, lightweight material plays a much larger part than before. But torsional rigidity is increased, eliminating yet more vibration and noise, while large areas of the body, bonnet, wings and boot lid, as well as other occasional panels and bulkheads, all are made from aluminium. Elsewhere, almost twice as much steel alloy as previously is built into the rest of the body. Modern manufacturing methods allow the thickness of a single sheet of steel to vary, making it strong where necessary, light wherever possible. And yet, more than 70% of bodyweight materials are galvanised steel, continuing another part of the Mercedes reputation. There are plenty of new E-Class predecessors still in use and still looking good, living up to the 30-year corrosion guarantee Mercedes offers in some countries. Underfloor PVC sprays have been dropped though in favour of plastic panels, which not only protect against stone chips but also create an aerodynamically preferable smooth surface to the underbody airstream. The heart-wrenching thing for Mercedes must be that after going to all this trouble and creating all these innovations in manufacture with so many benefits to looks, performance and reliability, after all of that, most buyers will completely fail to be impressed and instead just take it for granted. One of the penalties of that so enviable brand image is that no one is surprised or even pleased to hear how much unseen improvement has taken place. They'll only express an opinion if it isn't happening. Perverse, but it's human nature, and what will impress them is in the showroom. Almost sadly, that means toys, of course. But the good news is that the new E-Class has plenty of them. There are some E-Class firsts. This is the first to have a 60/40 split-folding rear seat, for example, a feature standard on the big saloons from Opel and Ford for 10 years at least. But there are also some world firsts. Perhaps not all of these are on public view for the first time, but most are making series production in a volume-built model for the first time. Windscreen wipers which switch themselves on when it rains are not new, any more than headlamps which turn themselves on when it's dark. So far, indeed, we're just talking Fiat Stilo. Intelligent cruise control, which won't let you get too close to the car in front, Fiat Stilo again, by coincidence. Computer-controlled air intake at the front, in which the lower intake is closed above a set speed to improve CD value and therefore aid the performance and economy cycles. That's a nice touch. We like that, we like gadgets. And we've got a sneaking suspicion that we'll quite like the heated steering wheel, just part of an impressive array of comfort features that includes 4-way adjustable air conditioning, so every passenger gets the climate of choice regardless of the other three, and that's aided by a solar panel sunroof which powers the air conditioning when the car's parked. A door key which knows when you're near the car and unlocks it, fairly normal now. It tells the car who you are, and the seats, mirrors and so on all adjust to your favourite settings after the steering wheel swings up and the seat slides back so you can get in more easily. Seats that weigh you and adjust airbag inflation accordingly, that's good, we like that. Seats that recognise a child seat for the same reason, better still. Ventilated seats that inflate and change shape according to the way you drive, sensors that change the way the engine responds to match the way you drive. The list is endless, and it even includes emo. And a new improved air suspension system which reacts to road conditions and driving style for better handling and better insulation against road harshness. Take it for granted. ESP and EDS and sensortronic braking we all know about, but the E-Class introduces brake-by-wire technology to a volume car for the first time, and it may well be needed. Engine choice includes 5 units, 6 or 8 cylinders, petrol and diesel, going from 150 horsepower to more than double that amount. And there's a tax-beating supercharged 2-litre scheduled for next year. And a supercharged E55 AMG V8 as well. Smallest top speeds are said to be just short of 150 miles an hour, including the big diesel. And the highest should be 155 miles an hour. In summary, the world's best-selling saloon in this class has even more of the gadgets that took it to the top in the first place, and it's all being built with the same painstaking care on which the three-pointed star has founded its reputation for solid engineering and huge residual values, of course. When you think of it like that, it's bound to be a success. Will it fend off the likes of the excellent 5 Series? Only time will tell, but our feeling is that Mercedes and BMW appeal to different types of drivers, and some will always take the cross-country precision of the 5 against the luxurious smoothness of the E. From V8-powered luxury to cheapo plastic body sheet and organic power is a small step for Auto Mundial, but a giant leap for hamster kind, really. We'll be looking at the new Bentley Arnage T in just a moment, but, and I mean this most sincerely, now it's time for something completely different. We've paid quite a lot of attention to concept cars in recent programmes, and for 2 main reasons. Firstly, we like them, and the reason we like them is the second reason they're in the programme. These are the first steps on the road to a new generation of motor car. Some represent imminent manufacture and showroom features like the Stilo show car at Geneva last year and the production car this year, and there are plenty of other examples, the Nissan Z car perhaps. Others, and forgive us if we think of some of the homegrown wild animals we saw in Japan last year and mention them in the same breath as some of the more peculiar products from Rinspeed, some of them are wildly outside the manufacturing ballpark. But the more outrageous they are, the more we like them, because above all else, this is an industry which depends on new ideas, and they can come from any source. That must have been part of the thinking at Toyota when they began the Idea Olympics 26 years ago, with the ideas coming from their own employees. This year, for the first time, ideas came from the general public as well. And can't you just tell? This Ladybird lookalike won the Dream Car contest for school and university students, and not just for its violent colour scheme, but mostly for its non-violent propulsion system. It uses an amplified form of the electricity generated by hamsters whizzing around in those little wheels they all have. Cheaply made from off-the-shelf parts, the Go Anywhere wheelchair won the Excellence Award, and quite right too. A justified response to tackling an area of transport unchanged in 100 years, other than by the addition of an electric motor. The Chairman's Award went to the Geneo Ball, a GPS-equipped and very futuristic vehicle, dependent on gyros for its stability and looking very much as if we'd all like one. But imagine the local shopping centre full up with these instead of people. No, it's not a racing Dalek stripped of its bodywork, but another Excellence Award winner, a robot car that can deliver you to your destination and return home without any help from anyone, least of all you. The Fushigi, or Wonder, balance running car, really, would I lie to you, is controlled by sensors that measure speed, incline and other parameters in order to retain its balance while it moves around either on wheels or, after a minor transformation, on 4 legs. Winner of the Bronze Award at the Idea Olympics, no one knows why its designer felt the change from wheel to foot travel was necessary, or if it shouts "Exterminate" as well. But this is our favourite, a means of transport devised solely for the purpose of getting you from A to B in a way that's exciting and fun. That's what cars were all about in the beginning. And that's what the Surfing Johnny does too. Why? Well, once again, who knows? And why worry? Just sit back and enjoy it, if you can. Last year, the Bentley name returned to Le Mans after a 70-year absence, during which the fame and legend that W.O. Bentley and his band of amateur racers had not diminished, but grown. All marketing departments dream of such an emotive and saleable heritage, and all shrink from the reality of recreating it for a modern audience. The penalty of failure is too immense to consider. But under Audi leadership, Bentley did not shrink from the task, and the success was a result that enabled a fresh new marketing move based on the Le Mans legend.
Arnage is the name of a curve, a bend on the circuit of La Sarthe at Le Mans, where Bentley made its name in the 1930s, and has returned to that race 71 years later last year with a podium finish. And I think that link is a real tribute to the engine that is in the Arnage T and the car itself.
The Arnage comes with the black label badge traditionally reserved for the fastest cars in the Bentley range, and the Arnage T is the fastest Bentley road car ever. It's also billed as the fastest standard production four-door in the world. Top speed is 168 miles an hour, standstill to 60 is 5.5 seconds, aided by the highest torque figure of any production car. The engine might sound familiar to Bentley fans, a 6.7-litre V8 with two turbos that delivers 450 horsepower. But Bentley say that it's extensively changed and has minimal carryover. 50% at least is new, and 80% of the other half has been re-engineered. And it meets all emission laws up to 2004. To match all its new power, Bentley, aided by the resources of Volkswagen and Audi and working almost entirely in the virtual world during the design process, has re-engineered the body as well, giving it more torsional rigidity. That helped the NV8 patrols weed out the rattles and the bumps, but it's most important to ride and handling, making the life of the suspension engineers just a little bit easier. They created a new design anyway, computer controlled of course, giving the big saloon 5.5 metres and 2,500 kilos, both ride and handling. A lot of the weight is accounted for by the body shell, but plenty is taken up by the luxury accoutrements, and that's simply because there are a great number of them. Spec is what you make it, or what your bank manager lets you make it, but don't miss the wood and leather trim, whatever else you decide you can live without. And of course, any Bentley can be personally commissioned, and you can specify every single detail of the car down to the final hand stitches in the leatherwork, which you'd probably want to do, seeing as you've spent so much money on it already. When we saw it on stage in Detroit in January, we said, want one. Any number of serious motoring pundits raised their eyebrows and asked serious questions like why and where to for, and haven't you got anything better to do? But to William Clay Ford, just call me Bill, this was the symbol of resurrection. This was the symbol of a glorious past that was soon to be revisited, a heritage to be reclaimed. The fight back starts here, he announced in Detroit as he took the wraps off the new Millennium GT40. And while those serious pundits raised their collective eyebrow and scribbled supplementary serious questions in their notebooks, there was an orderly queue forming at Dearborn underneath the sign that said, "Buy one here." So we are not surprised, merely delighted to hear that the GT40 will be going into production, and I'm putting my name down for one right now. Not sure if I can afford it or not, because there's no news about prices so far, and the people, outsiders, not Ford personnel mind, the people who have made a stab at the numbers have varied wildly. Hardly a surprise, since specifications have yet to be settled. Concept cars very seldom make it into production without being changed, often quite significantly too, but there doesn't seem to be very much you can change about this one. Except perhaps that supercharger on the big V8 engine. Corporate lawyers at Dearborn will be mouthing the words product liability under their breath right now, while the car guys like Bill Ford are still talking horsepower and production volumes. The problem is that the original GT40 could blow the doors off a Lamborghini Murcielago without the blower and the posh new suspension, so this is a car likely to be beyond the limits of anyone able to afford it, and that could easily spell lawsuit in the USA. But the good news is still the good news. In some shape or other, the GT40 is coming to a showroom near you soon.